Okay, right now we are going to discuss the structure of neuron. Neuron are cells. In our body, we are having different cells in our body. There are about 200 different types of cells present in our body. And among those cells, this cell is very unique in its function because other cells die and new cells are formed. But when we talk about the neurons, they have a special feature. They do not divide. Actually, once we get them in our life, they stay there in our brain. They do not divide. It means we cannot divide these neurons to make them new. So, okay, talk about the structure of neuron. In our previous lesson, we discussed we are having three different types of neurons: the sensory, motor, and relay neurons. The sensory neurons are neurons which take messages from body to CNS, central nervous system. Suppose here we have central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. The neurons which take messages from the body towards the CNS, they are called sensory neurons. Sensory neurons are those which take messages from body to coordinators. Then the motor neurons which take messages away from the CNS towards effectors, they are called motor neurons. The third type was relay or intermediate neurons. Those intermediate neurons actually present within the nervous system, within the central nervous system actually. They are present only in brain and in spinal cord. So that's why when we talk about the intermediate or relay neurons, keep one thing very clear about these intermediate or relay neurons. They are present within your central nervous system. Okay, so now we discuss the structure of a generalized neuron. When we talk about the structure of a neuron is a cell like other cells. So all cells have a cell body and nucleus. So here this neuron, when we talk about it, it's a cell body and it has very prominent nucleus. Then cytoplasm, it's cell body. This one is the nucleus. Then cytoplasm. Other organelles are also present in like Golgi bodies, then endoplasmic reticulums, ribosomes, like other cells. But keep in your mind, this cell will not be having centrioles. So centriole, why centrioles are absent? At start I told you, this cell will never divide further. So when these cells do not divide, they do not need to have these centrioles because centrioles are present in cell to help them to divide. So they don't divide, that's why they do not have a need to have these centrioles in them. So centrioles are absent in neuron cells. Then from this cell body, small extensions come out. we have these small extensions which are coming out from this cell body. These small extensions are called dendron. We call them dendron. These dendrons further divides into sub-extensions. Which are called dendrites. So these smaller extensions are called dendrites. So we have a cell body, cytoplasm, cell organelles without centrioles. Then small extensions are coming out of this membrane of the cell called dendron. These dendrons further divides into smaller, even smaller extensions called dendrites. So very interesting fact about this cell or with these dendrites. When all the communication is going to be taking place inside your body, a lot of messages are coming towards the body or going towards your central nervous system. So keep in your mind, these extensions or dendrites are actually channelized, are actually attached with more than 10,000 other dendrites or other neurons. Mean at same time from 10,000 different neurons, the messages are being communicated towards these extensions. So you can understand the complexity of our nervous system. Mean billions of neurons are present in our nervous system. So how many messages will be there and how they will be communicated? So moves next. These dendrites are called small processes of this cell. Then the second part, the second direction of this cell body leads into a long process that is called exon. So this part is called exon. The messages are communicated through these tubes, through these exons in the form of action potential or in the form of electrochemical wave. Just like current, as it is flowing through different copper wires or other wires, same is the case with these neurons. They conduct messages in the form of electrochemical waves, which is normally called action potential due to the depolarization of ions and charges. Externally, when we talk about, but before moving ahead, these dendrons and dendrites are involved to receive message. Whenever any message move towards any neuron, it is received at these dendrites. When message is received, it will travel towards the cell body, and through this cell body it will be communicated to the long process that is called exon. So this part is called exon. This exon is having externally special type of cells called Schwann cells. One more very interesting thing, particularly about your CNS or central nervous system. In central nervous system, we are having two different types of cell. But keep in your mind, when we talk about the nervous system, even in nervous system we are having two types of cells, the neurons and supporting cells. The neurons are involved there just to communicate the messages between your body and your brain and spinal cord. But when we talk about the other supporting cells, What they are going to do, either they are giving some type of protection, nutrition or other assistance is being given by these supporting cells. But when we move to CNS, central nervous system, we have neurons, one type of cell, and we are also having supporting cells called glial cells. As I gave you the example of Schwann cells. Actually, Schwann cells are present over here, which enwrap around this exon. When these cells enwrap, they give insulation. They give this exon extra insulation to protect the messages which are flowing inside in the form of electrochemical wave, just like a current. There should not be any leakage of these messages because they are type of current. They should not be mixed with other messages. So in order to keep them inside this exon, to flow them in a particular direction, those Schwann cells are present over here. These are Schwann cells. Okay, actually these are Schwann cells. As every cell is having a nucleus, so is the case with these Schwann cells. These Schwann cells, when enwrap the exon, actually they make a sheath that is called myelin sheath. As I told you, what is the function of this myelin sheath? It's a sheath which actually insulates the messages. As we can observe at our homes, different electrical wires are there. In order to insulate those electrical wires, what is present externally? The plastic wires. Plastic wires enwrap copper wires externally, just not to flow the charges out of the wire. So same is the case with this myelin sheath. It is externally provided with a very thin membrane that is called neurylima. So what is the function of this neurylima? This neurylima provides nutrition to these cells. So when talk about the neurons and glial cells, I told you the neurons just conduct the messages. And what is the function of these glial cells? These glial cells actually give protection. They are insulating the messages. These cells, like the Schwann cells, these Schwann cells are actually the supporting cells. They are present along with this neuron. Okay viewers, we will discuss the rest of the things in our next lesson. Till then, stay safe.